Resilience is all about being able to overcome the unexpected. Sustainability is about survival. The goal of resilience is to thrive. Indeed, American author James Cashew could be describing Nigerian farmers who make up over 70% of the country's total workforce. Abandoned for the easy wealth from oil for decades, yet farming sustained over 70% of the population and consistently contributed to Nigeria's gross domestic product. The resilience of Nigerian farmers has protected the country from hunger and starvation, despite decades of neglect of the agricultural sector by successive governments. The tomato farmers of Kano are currently demonstrating that same resilience that has helped to keep Nigeria's agriculture going. They lost their tomato fields to a strange disease which they have nicknamed Tomato Ebola last year. By the time the blight was identified as Tuta absoluta, the farmers were already counting their losses. This was worsened by the fact that they could not get help anywhere in the country. Apart from Kano, 5 other states were hit by the tomato blight, and the impact was felt across the country, with the price of a basket of the staple going through the roof. Despite their huge loss, the farmers are growing tomato again, and this time the harvest is good. This week on Farmers Market, we return to Kano as we celebrate the resilience of Nigeria's tomato farmers. Farmers Market promotes Nigeria's agricultural prowess, celebrates successes, identifies the challenges besetting the sector, and advocates policies and programs that will help grow Nigeria's agro-economy. Varieties of highly nutritious rice in Abakaliki, Ofada, Kano, yet Nigeria wastes billions on rice importation. Cocoa in the southwest, and yet top dollar is spent on imported chocolate and beverages. Fruits rot in Benue, Nasarawa, Kogi, yet imported juice line the shops. 82 million hectares of rich arable land, yet no jobs, and food insecurity threatens.
Our real wealth is in farming, livestock, hatcheries, fisheries, horticulture, and forestry.
It's time to act different. Time to bring Nigerian farmers to the market. Farmers Market, growing Nigeria's agro-economy. Showing every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. on AIT. We are back in Kano, Nigeria's second largest commercial center, one of Nigeria's foremost agrarian states with 18,684 square kilometers of cultivable land. For the production of many crops, including tomato, Kano State does not just depend on rain-fed farming. This is because it is the most extensively irrigated state in the country. Thanks to the visionary leadership of the late former military governor of Old Kano State, Audu Bako, who began the construction of the Kadawa Irrigation project in 1969. The man who is fondly called the father of Kano's grain revolution was looking far into the future when he started the project to boost agriculture through irrigation. The irrigation project has gone through different phases, but today it is a project under the Hadeja Jamari River Basin Development Authority.
In agriculture, it has a lifespan, it has a gestation period, which politicians don't want to invest. But it is the economic sector. You invest, you reap the benefit. In Kano today, I repeat, we are still praying, farmers are praying for late Adubaku. Why? Because he has created facilities that will stand the test of time. Up to today in Kano, we are working with facilities of irrigation created by somebody in the 60s. Why? Because there was this good intention and there's a good heart that is investing for the future. But leaders today, they don't want to invest for the future. They want to invest because they'll be praised. That's the problem. And that's what is happening in the field of agriculture today. But I'm glad now that we're having problems with oil. At least now there's a sink.
Despite the many years of neglect, the vision of Audubako still feeds agriculture in Kano today. Farmers in the Butalawa farming cluster in Kura local government area are among those who benefit from it. The cluster has 22,000 hectares of farmland capable of producing 82,000 tons of farm produce, especially tomato. This is why farmers like Bashir can grow tomatoes and other crops here. Bashir was among the hundreds of farmers who incurred heavy losses in the last tomato season, no thanks to the Tuta absoluta pest that ravaged farms in Kano. When we first met him in May 2016, Bashir was bemoaning the loss of his tomato farms to Tuta absoluta. But it is a totally different scenario this year. Indeed, it is. Back in business. The tomato farmers of Kano are back in business after the devastating loss as a result of Tuta absoluta last year. At this time last year, Alhaji Bashir here could not get as much as a basket of tomatoes from his farm. But this season, it is a bumper harvest. On this encounter, Bashir is too busy sorting out and preparing his tomato for the market to speak with us. And this is just the beginning of tomato harvest on Bashir's farm, a part of which is not ripe yet for harvest, while other parts are just fruiting. It's the same good news for most of the tomato farmers in Kano. Their tomato fields are lush green again, free of the tomato ravaging pest, productive again. Most of the farms are beehives of activities. Tens of youths picking ripe tomato. Some sorting them into baskets. Others are loading the baskets into market-bound trucks. Tomato production is generating employment again. The tomato fields in Kura local government area of Kano State are flourishing again because of the sheer determination and resilience of the farmers. In March 2016, the Nigerian government set a December 2016 deadline for self-sufficiency in the production of tomato paste.
We have also noticed that some of the tomato paste coming into this country from some places are not good for our health, according to findings in NAFDAC. We intend to ban them shortly because now we have self-sufficiency in tomato production. Between Dangote and Erisco, The local capacity is sufficient. More processing factories will be built. So the women who grow tomatoes will have a place to sell their tomatoes and not wait by the roadside and watch the tomatoes rot away.
Less than 2 months after, an acute shortage of tomato hit the country. The price of a basket of the vegetable, which sold for less than 1,000 naira at farm gate and not up to 10,000 naira when demand is very high, suddenly climbed as high as 35,000 naira. Kaduna State is one of the 5 major producers of tomatoes affected in northern Nigeria. Others include Jigawa, Katsina, Kano, and Plateau states. Swaths of tomato fields were destroyed by the deadly moth called Tuta absoluta, cutting tomato production in most of the states by over 80%.
It is a very, very powerful infestation, and if not dealt with, could actually make it impossible for us to grow tomatoes in this country. Unfortunately, ordinary pesticides cannot deal with this Tuta absoluta because the moth has a way of multiplying so fast, almost 10-12 times a year, producing 250 offspring per cycle, and it has built resistance against the normal run of pesticides. So we're in contact now with a group which has dealt with this in other countries and which is offering us a solution. In the next few days, we shall get to work on this.
Mustafa Mudawa is a leader of the tomato farmers in Kano. He too grows the essential staple in Kura. He says the farmers did not get any help from government. The farmers had to rely on the magnanimity of some non-governmental organizations and were mostly at the mercy of private pesticide traders.
Obviously, we write to the government, but we only have the reply from the federal government that they are looking into our problem. But up to now, there is nothing done. All this what we have is just from private companies. This Syngenta, Jivalis, they all come with the medicines that we can use. And there is also this Pixera Global people. They used to take our problem to that company and to different other organizations. So they all come with their chemical. So we buy it, we test it, and we see the impact now. But from government, now the state government said that they have bought some medicine to help farmers. But up to date, we are just hearing this news from the radio that the government bought medicine, that bought chemical, bought seed, bought that and that. But in this area, where 80% of tomato cultivation is done here, we didn't see anything, to be sincere.
They also had to break from their age-long tradition of restricting cropping and harvesting to the period between December and May.
As I speak with you, farmers are still transplanting tomato, which is an unusual thing at this time of the year. You know, usually our seasonal calendar or cropping calendar will show that between November and December, they prepare their nursery and then transplant by December, January, and by March they start harvesting, and then it goes on to May, which was what happened last year. But this year you will notice that from September and from August actually, there's been continuous harvesting, and farmers have continued to crop their fields with tomato up to this as I speak with you. It may be the attraction of the high prices that they're getting presently that is making some farmers continue the transplanting or cropping of their fields to tomato. It may, but largely they have developed some kind of resilience in themselves through the staggered production system.
Also, experts say that the weather is much milder, and the fact that the heat is not as severe as it was last year may have helped to ward off the deadly tomato pest. However, they approach the issue of a permanent solution to tuta absoluta with cautious optimism.
Well, I won't say that it's been dealt with, because it will be misleading to say it is being dealt with until we see it happen again in some field and how it is contained. You know, the measures that we have in place to reduce them. The measures now are just in our heads and on our books until we see it playing out. But we do not pray for the reoccurrence of that, because the truth is that farmers had a huge loss last season, and we don't want them to go through that again.
No doubt the harvest of tomato this year is very good. The price is good too, and the farmers are happy.
The price is very good now. The price is very appreciative, because 60 kg of basket now you can buy it 2,700.
That's very good.
It's very good as compared by last year. The 60 kg tomatoes is 200 by that time. By this time it's 200, but now it's 2,700.
The vegetable is available and affordable, but there is certainly not enough to meet the demands of indigenous processors. For instance, the Dangote tomato processing plant, also located in the Kura area of Kano, one of the plants which Nigerian depends on to achieve self-sufficiency in tomato paste production, remains silent. The operators are, however, optimistic that it will roar to life soon.
There has to be tomato for the factory to run. And we have been working around the clock to see how we can even alter the tomato growing season so that tomato can be grown by the farmers throughout the year, so that when the factories, either ours or anybody's, can have fresh tomato to run continuously, not the seasonal stop. And we have been interfacing with international companies that are into hybrid seeds of tomato that can give higher yield than what the farmers are getting now. We have brought in hybrid seeds. We have done trials with the farmers, and they have seen the benefit of those type of seeds. They are getting an average of 7 to 10 tons. These seeds can give them 60 to 80 tons per hectare on the same piece of land. So that's what we are doing now on our own part to spur more production of tomato by the local farmers.
With the current situation, Nigeria's hope of achieving self-sufficiency in tomato paste production is far-fetched, at least for now, until the country puts measures in place to increase production and actually begins processing. Until then, Nigerians will still need to import the 300,000 metric tons of tomato paste they consume every year, a venture which costs a whopping 16 billion naira annually, even before the value of the naira slid to almost 500 to $1. Varieties of highly nutritious rice in Abakaliki, Ofada, Kano. Yet Nigeria wastes billions on rice importation. Cocoa in the southwest, and yet top dollar is spent on imported chocolate and beverages. Fruits rot in Benue, Nasarawa, Kogi, yet imported juice line the shops. 82 million hectares of rich arable land, yet no jobs, and food insecurity threatens.
Our real wealth is in farming, livestock, hatcheries, fisheries, horticulture, and forestry.
It's time to act different. Time to bring Nigerian farmers to the market. Farmers Market, Growing Nigeria's Agro-Economy, showing every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. on AIT.
There is no way that we can encourage local production when we allow unbridled importation of the same things that we are trying to produce.
Since the first week of February 2017, when the acting president Yemi Osinbajo set up a task force on the high cost of food items, there's been a heated debate over how government plans to control the prices of food which it does not produce. Well, that debate was laid to rest in the second week of February when the task force submitted a preliminary report to the Federal Executive Council. In the report, the committee identifies the exorbitant cost of transportation, multiple taxation, and the growing demand for Nigerian farm produce in neighboring countries as some of the factors driving up the cost of food in Nigeria.
The cost of transportation has become extremely high, especially because of the fact that most of our transportation is by road. Diesel prices have gone up and trucks are finding it difficult to move from place to place at the old prices. So we've considered the following alternatives: using railway wagons along the current railway network, as we did before when we moved cattle from the northwest to Lagos. We brought down the costs. We avoided the multiple taxation that is visited on transporters in this country by local government roadblocks, most of them not very legal, along the highways, which delays movement and causes the damage to a lot of food like tomatoes and so on. So we've decided to work with the state governments and the police to reduce those delays.
That's Farmers Market for this week. To join the conversation, just go to our website www.farmersmarketng.com. Click on Farmers Network, choose the topic, make your contributions brief, and they will feature next week on Farmers Market. You can see this program again whenever you want to. Just visit our website www.farmersmarketng.com. For feedback and sponsorship considerations, please contact us on 009-566-0090. Email us on info@farmersmarketng.com. Follow us on Twitter @farmersmarketng. And like our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/farmersmarketng. Farmers Market returns same time, same station next week. Thanks for watching.